Hi guys, welcome back to Creative Pet Keeping. I'm going to show you something crazy. Do you see how this shelf and the top tank is at an angle? Well, today I was doing daily maintenance and I was cleaning my tanks because I wanted to get everything nice and prepped for a feeding video. I was going to feed all my fish and do it for Fish Fin Friday. And I bumped this just slightly and this slid down. And it was the most terrifying thing ever because this could have completely fell. And luckily it didn't, so I drained this top tank. The males are everywhere. Two of the males that I'm going to breed are up here for a little bit just so I can practice flaring at the girls. I have two males in there with the sponge filters and the plants. The rest of the males are hanging out right here temporarily, so they're all just in makeshift containers with the same water from their aquarium so they're not startled or too stressed. But I fully drained this tank, and then I decided I'm going to drain this tank halfway, and I'm kind of getting to that point with my buckets draining right now to relieve the weight, and I have to wait for Daniel to get home to help me get these tanks off. But that's really scary because these racks should, in theory, be able to handle this weight of these tanks, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I might maybe redo this and put these two tanks in the bottom here so they're lower and better supported, and maybe do the two 5-gallon breeders at the top so it's only 10 gallons of weight at the top versus the 20, so it'll be half the weight. Or, I don't know, something else, but I definitely need to rethink this. And even though this is super scary, I wanted to share this with you because this is always a possibility with your aquarium racks. Even with these guys have been doing a lot better. This rack, oh, actually, let me stop because it is filling up pretty much to the top. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. So although this tank is doing really well, I mean this rack, it is bowing a little bit. So I am going to get some plywood to help support it. I'm going to put the plywood on top of the metal. That way it'll help spread out the weight a little better. It'll help with the bowing issue. But even with this rack, even though this rack is super sturdy, I am still very nervous about having the one single 20-gallon at the top. So I have been really rethinking that maybe I should either get another rack like this and move this new tank that I have, you know, on a lower shelf, and then put the 20-gallon maybe right here with an extra 10 if it fits, and then leave the top open for possible reptile tank, because with reptile tanks, they're just, you know, the tank and some decorations, they weigh a lot, significantly less. So I think that's what I might do for the top here, even though having a tank up here looks pretty nice. Or I might have, I don't know, or I might leave this one, because this one is not too bad. I still get nervous when I have to clean the glass with the magnetic cleaner because the rack does wobble a little tiny bit. Not a whole lot, but it makes me super nervous. So this is kind of what's going on here. I also have Blueberry in here. He was in a temporary container, but now I decided to put him in here temporarily. Now normally I would not put new fish with quarantine fish, but these fish do come from a local trusted member of the GCCA, so I highly doubt they'll get him sick. So I'm kind of breaking my rule. You probably shouldn't do that. And I moved one of the potted plants here with the guppies. They seem to actually like this quite a bit. They've been chucking it out and hanging out amongst the plants. But, oh man, this is scary. I have to really rethink this. It was, I don't know, I got too comfortable with these racks and I overestimated this, and it was a very stupid decision on my part. And luckily I learned from this without any damage happening, because, you know, this rack didn't fall, I didn't have any water spilling or tanks breaking. So now I am going to really rethink how I set up my tanks, because I have no room for error like this. This cannot happen again. I live in an apartment. I can't have tanks, you know, fall. I mean, you usually shouldn't have tanks fall when you have a fish room, but, you know, if you have a fish room in a basement or another room, if an accident happens and there's flooding, you know, you usually have the space to deal with it you know, with a normal fish room. I do not. There is no room for air here. I cannot flood my neighbors downstairs. So I need to really, really go back and rethink this. And yeah, so that's kind of what is going on here. I'll try to update you guys on what I end up doing, and how I end up refiguring this out. Because I wanted to have the breeding tanks down there, but realistically, looking back at this now, it's kind of stupid to have lighter tanks at the bottom and a heavy 20-gallon at the top. It should be heavier weight near the bottom, and then, you know, lighter tanks at the top. And I've never had this wreck. I never had tanks on here higher than this height. I always had, remember my old fish room, there used to be like a tank here and a tank here, and it didn't go higher. I didn't have problems with that, so I don't know exactly what went wrong here, but I definitely, this was terrifying. And luckily, it wasn't worse than it could have been. So that is unfortunately my not so fun video. I was going to do a fun Fish Fan Friday fish feeding and clean up my fish room for you guys and make it all nice, but I guess that's going to be put aside for another day.